this is Noreen from Joy of Cards, and we are going to be doing this card today from the So Many Stars stamp set, which is number 150496. This is an awesome card. We're also going to be using the die from Stitch Stars, this die here, and this die here, and this is number 150653. And the last die that we're going to be using also is the stitched nested labels, and we're going to be using the second to largest die right here, this one right here. So this is what we're going to be using today. Also, I do have a list of all the supplies that you'll need if you want to just snapshot that, screenshot that. And so we're going to use the dies, the stamps. The ink is Night of Navy and Seaside Spray. The paper, the base is Night of Navy. We're going to be using some copper foil. The DS paper is Brightly Gleaming, the stars one, and also very vanilla. So the first thing we're going to do, of course, is make your card base. It is a 5.5 by 8.5. Which is nice. Go ahead and score that so it opens this direction. And then what we can do is, I always like to start in the middle. I don't know why, but you're going to need 2 strips of the copper, and the copper is going to be cut 5.5 by 1/4 inch. And take your nice little rubber pad here, Stampin' Up pad, which is also on that list, and go ahead and snail it. And then I like to put mine at the top first so you can make sure the card closes. Okay, and then I'm going to put in my bottom one. Put this in on the bottom. And that vanilla piece that we're going to be putting in the middle has been cut to fit right inside. So this is a 5.5 by 3.75. And before we do this, we need to stamp our sentiment. And our sentiment is this big star and the season greetings. Now, if you notice, I put in all these extra little stars, and they're the extra pieces from the die, and I kept all the stars in a little dish here, and I just put them on after. You don't need to put those stars. And also, I I accidentally got a little bit of ink on here, so that's when you embellish. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to stamp the sentiment, and the best thing to use is your Stamparatus, because you want to make sure that you get it in there and get it nice and inked up. Okay, so on my Stamparatus, I've kind of marked off, because I've made a bunch of these cards. I do them for my my husband's company, all the Christmas cards. So what I've done is I've lined up the edges in here. So if you're making a lot of these, and this is a great card to make a ton of them, because you can just whip them out. So if you have to make like 100 cards, just make an assembly line and mark all your spaces. So here I've got the star on one side here and the season's greeting on the other one here. So I'm going to do the star first. So I'm going to put it here, and I'm going to put the magnets here and here, and I'm going to take the Seaside Spray, and I'm going to ink up my star. Ink it up real good. Make sure I've got this on here straight. And put it right down. Dunk. Okay. And if I want that a little darker, ink it up again, of course. And there it goes. All right. Now I'm going to make sure I close up the box, because if you don't close up these boxes, one, you can leave them open and then they dry out, or two, which everybody does, you put something on top of it, it gets inked, it gets on your fingers, and then you got an ink catastrophe there. It's all like that. So Now we're going to do the seasoned greeting with the Night of Navy. And I've already had, like I said, I've already positioned this up. And I'm going to ink that on top. Oop. Now, when you're doing the second one, when you're doing this, very carefully without moving anything, move your magnets out of the way. Okay, that's one. Now, that S there didn't get inked too great, so I'm going to re-ink it again. This is why you use the Stamparatus. It's because sometimes it's just really hard to get the ink completely on there. So I'm going to do it a third time. Really concentrate on that S over there. So, boom. It's great. And then just leave your stuff here. So if you're doing a whole bunch of them, you can keep going. Now, if you noticed, on the other side of my Stamparatus, I have the sentiment for the front. So I'm going to just turn this around, get it ready for the front, and I'll take the other one off. It's awesome about this thing. And then we'll put this to the side. Oh, once again, close up that ink pad. Get that out of the way. And then make sure you don't have any ink on your fingers. If you do, go wash them off real quick, because ink loves to just ruin your card only at the last moment. So then we're going to take our snail and we're going to pop that in. Now, if your measurements were a little off on your 2 copper pieces or your vanilla, do the top first. It should just fit right in. If you're a little over, just put it on top. No one will ever know. And boom, there's the inside. That's really super easy. Now, on the outside, what I've done is I've cut the stars piece. And the stars piece is a 5.5 by 3.75 as well. So you can take this and snail it up. This rubber pad, if you don't have one of these rubber pads, they're awesome, because you can, do anything over and it's not going to really stick. Now, when you're doing this piece, do the 2 short ends and 1 long end. Leave this end open, because we're going to slip the copper piece under it to line it. So you're going to take your card the way it opens, and you're going to put this on the bottom with the glue that's on the bottom, and just line it up. Doink. Like that. And then you're going to take another 1/4 by 5.5 copper piece, and we're going to snail that up again using our awesome silicone pad. Like I said, this thing is the best. Even if you're like a scrapbooker, these are great, because then you can snail over everything and nothing sticks. It keeps your workstation clean. It's the best thing. And this little puppy is from Stampin' Up as well, and it is the silicone craft sheet is number 127853. It's cheap. It's worth everything. Anyway, back to the card. So I'm going to go ahead and slip this open piece. We didn't glue that down. And I'm just going to kind of slip it in underneath, just like so, and line it up like that. So that's what we got so far. And then what we're going to do is I cut with the stitched nested labels. It's this piece. It's like the second largest piece. And there's a little trick, and I did a video on this as well. So let me show you how to do this. What you're going to do is you're going to take, and I'm going to use my Sidekick. I try to use my Sidekick as much as possible, because it takes up like no room on your table. These things are great. It's also a Sizzix product. And when I put it on my glass mat, it really sticks well. So there's no moving it. See, I can even lift up my glass plate over it. This thing is awesome. Okay, so on my card, if you noticed, I didn't do the top part of this. So in the little Sidekick, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and I'm going to go over the spot where it starts to turn and point up again. And then washi tape, and I just kind of hold it down and then put the other sandwich in. Use my little Sidekick. Now, what's great about the Sidekick is that just does it nice and quick. Take that off and pop it out. It's awesome. So, sidekick, definitely worth getting. Okay, so what we need to do with our little piece here is we need to put that sentiment on it. So let's grab, I've already positioned my sentiment on my Stamparatus. Like I said, if you're doing a lot of cards, this thing is great because I've got all 3 stamps all lined up. I have it marked out on the pad here, so I can literally go whip through a bunch of my sentiments. And of course, with that nested label die here, there's a good side and a bad side, so you want to make sure you get the correct side, and then you line it up. And this one only needs one little magnet on the bottom. And I'm going to get my Night of Navy. I'm going to ink up that sentiment right here. And I already had it all lined up. And it did great the first time, but hey, if you want to do it again, let's do it again, because we can. Beautiful. And actually, that looks better. And of course, once again, close your ink pad, because ink pads are the devil. They will, you will put something on it, you will touch it. So put that little dude to the side, and then wipe off your hands on whatever you got. I prefer my leggings because I don't know where my baby wipes are. Anyway, so take this off. It's perfect. Put your Stamparatus to the side because you don't need it. And then you're going to take your fresh label and you're going to just nail it up and put it at the top. Just right about here. Okay, boom, done. Okay, now we get to this little swirly part, which is from Stitch Stars. And this is a beautiful die, but it's also a little bit of a tricky die because one, it's intricate, right? And what this does with foil, and I had a hard time with this. This is the one I did the video on. I tried to run it through my Big Shot Plus, and foil picks up every little thing, like all these little pokey holes here. When I ran this die through my Big Shot Plus, it picked up every single one of those pokey holes. So it wasn't smooth like this. And I called Sizzix and I called Stampin' Up. And what it is that the Big Shot Plus is different from the regular Big Shot because Big Shot Plus has different kinds of rollers, different kinds of pressure, and it's really meant for intricate dies. But unfortunately, with foil, it'll pick up all the little pokey holes. And you could try to do the wax paper, that doesn't work. And the Big Shot Plus does not have an impression or the plate for not having all these things go through. I forget what it's called. I don't think it's called the impressions pad anyway, but it doesn't have one. So what I had to do under many, many tries, because I had so many just failures with this die, is back to my sidekick. This sidekick doesn't have as much pressure, so when I ran the die through, it came out nice and relatively clean. There's a couple of pokey holes, but I mean, this is pretty darn good. So we went with the sidekick. Plus, you know, it fits right through. It doesn't take up the big amount of space on my table. This was a lifesaver. So if you have the Big Shot Plus, just know when you do foil, you're going to have to use another machine because literally nobody had a explanation of how, or instruction of how I can do this without the pokey holes going through. So when I ran this through, I also picked out all the little stars because you're going to get all these little stars. You saw that on the other card where I was hiding up my little my ink mistakes, because these ink pads, they will get you. They're the devil. So anyway, I saved the little stars for, you know, mistakes or just for later. So we've got our card going here. We've already cut out our die. And what I'm going to do next on this beautiful silicone sheet that I love is we're going to use the fine tip glue pen. This is a Stampin' Up! Product as well. I love this glue. I have another glue that has kind of, you take out, in fact, I wish I had it here, where you take off the lid and it has the pin. And that glue clogs all the time. I have a heck of a time to getting that glue to work. Oh, I found it. Look, I will cover up its name, but this stuff, this stinks. This glue tip, it's always clogged. I've gone through many of these little tips and stuff. I hate it. And after a while, the silver tip comes off. It's a nightmare. This stuff, this Stampin' Up! Stuff, because it's all one piece, there's not like a tip that pulls off when you put it in. It's great. So you unscrew it and then you pull out the pin. The pin's in the cap. And then when you put it away, you line up that pin to it. And it goes down pretty deep all the way through. And then you screw it on tight. And this stuff I haven't gotten it to clog yet. So this is amazing. And this glue is 138309. This is a must. The silicone sheet is a must. If you're new, get these two things. They're awesome. So anyway, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to take our little star swirly thing and we're going to glue it up. And I'm also going to use this Take Your Pick tool. This is new. You have the pick on one end. If you have a lot of glitter and stuff, which we don't have on this one, there's the other side that you can pick up the little embellishments. There's also the roller to pull out all the pieces in your die. But we're going to use this to hold down our swirly thing when we glue it, because glue like ink gets everywhere and you don't want to become a glue monster like I did yesterday. I made like 12 of these yesterday and I had glue everywhere, and I finally thought, I should just use my pick your tool and hold it down and keep my hands clean. But I'm kind of a messy crafter here, so it's a good thing that you can't see the rest of my desk, because it's a monster. But that's because I love doing this kind of stuff, and it's going to be in constant state of what the heck happened in, some kind of disaster. I should call FEMA. So, anyway, so I used my tool, kept my hands clean. The glue is awesome. If you do leave it off, the cap off for a while, before you put it back on, just, kind of take your fingers and clean off the tip. But, that's basically all you need to do. Screw this back on and it's good to go. And then I also like using my tweezers here. And I'm going to line this up. I want the swirly to go up on this one, just like on the card. And I want these two stars in the middle to line up under the S in season. So I'm going to take this. I'm not going to do this upside down because that would be impossible for me. And I'm going to line it up here. Kind of put it down. I also like to use my little pick up tool to kind of roll it out so I'm not touching that glue again. And it's better to use glue than anything else, because if you use a snail with this, what you're going to get is those little pieces that you can still see, and I hate that. So I don't use the snail. And then if there are little pieces that you maybe missed from the glue, you could just go down and take a little dunk and hold it down and you're great. So I'll put that on later. Now the last thing we need, I always forget the little star. Like I said, I made like 12 of these yesterday, and it's like I always forget the little star. So I'm going to put in my tweezers first, and then I'm going to put the glue on it. Just a little dab will do ya. And just put it up here. There, hold it down. Doink. That's awesome. And then the last thing to do is the little embellishments. And this is the holiday rhinestones. And these are awesome. And with Stampin' Up!, what's great about it is that everything matches. So your paper is going to be matching your inks, which are going to be matching the embellishments. Everything matches. So there's not a lot of thinking. If you're a scrapbooker, you know the trauma of picking the paper and picking everything, because it all needs to match for it to look right. So that's what's great about Stampin' Up. So these blue dots are going to match this blue paper. So I take it off with my fingernail first, and then I put it on the little picky end of my pick your up tool. This is the big embellishment, and I'm going to take it and put it right there. And then I'm going to take the smaller ones, and when you're picking up these rhinestones, there's a little glue dot on there. When you're picking it up, make sure you put your fingernail under there and grab that glue dot as well. And then you're going to take it and put it here. And you're going to take another one and put it here. And you're going to take another one and stick it to your finger and put it here. And then the last one is right up in that star up here. And boom, you got a really nice card. I mean, this wasn't that hard to do. If you're going to do a lot of them, just go through and cut however many of all the little pieces and then line them up and then create an assembly line. Because Christmas cards, you're going to make more than one Christmas card. And this wasn't a problem at all, especially when you're using your little sidekick here. I mean, it weighs nothing. It takes up like no room. It's a Sizzix product, so it's an awesome little thing. And these things are maybe, I think you can get them as cheap as like $30. But 30 to 50 bucks for this. The plates are pretty darn good. I've used them a bunch of times. So anyway, so this is a great card. If you would like to go on my website, here it is. I've got a direct site to Stampin' Up right here. Here's my October host code. So if you order anything under $150, use the host code. If not, if you go over $150, don't use the host code because you'll get like $15 worth of free stuff. $15 and up, depending on how much your order is. But if you like my video, that'd be awesome. And I'd like to continue to do this and do YouTube videos and show you how to do this stuff rather than showing you a picture and go, ha, I'm not going to tell you how to make this unless you go to my site and do all these crazy things. So here you go. Here it is. And I'm Noreen again, and I will hopefully see you later. Bye.